Welcome back to Friday Double Bill. We're on our Hollywood section, and here's our review of The Age of Adaline. After suffering a freak accident and miraculously remaining 29 years old for almost 8 decades, Adeline Bowman, played by Blake Lively, has lived a solitary existence, never allowing herself to get close to anyone who might reveal her secret. But a chance encounter with charismatic philanthropist Ellis Jones, played by Michael Huisman, reignites her passion for life and romance. When a weekend with his parents, played by Harrison Ford and Kathy Baker, threatens to uncover the truth, Adeline makes a decision that will change her life forever.
Well, Fahad, I'm not too sure if a film like this should necessarily go through the passage of logic as all movies should, because it's what is called a high concept film. But here we're dealing with age, right? And everyone's obsessed with aging in our world, as they should be, or obsessed with not aging. Here is a person who doesn't age for 8 decades. She remains 29 for that long. Now, if only she could let the world know exactly what she's going through, we would have found a miracle drug or a wonder machine. She would have become, of course, throughout. I mean, there is a mention somewhere that she doesn't want to be seen as a specimen, but it might be better. The society would really take care of her if that was the case, as with the leading lady in this picture. That's one aspect of it. I think the other aspect, which I thought was fascinating, and here is a person who, of course, cannot fall in love with someone because this would lead to complications. There's a lovely line out there that if there's love that does not lead to fruition or does not lead to old age, then it leads to heartbreak. But when she does fall in love with someone, that guy is absolutely the perfect 10 that I can ever think of. He's self-made. He is a mathematician. He is also a poet. He is also a philanthropist, and he gives a lot to the world in general. Six-pack to go with it, and a lovely man. I think that perfect 10 is what made me believe that this is actually a movie made for a huge female audience.
No question. I mean, it's a soppy, fairy tale like romance which requires a certain suspension of disbelief. But given that most of our films today are fantasy films, any case, between superheroes and J.R.R. Tolkien and Harry Potter and all of that, we've had great films like Ghost, which have withstood the passage of time and have become classics in their own soppy romantic way, and these are great date films. I think this is exactly what it is. It was aspiring to be a great date film. You've got Blake Lively, who's known to the teeny boppers with Gossip Girl. She's also done pretty well in films like Savages and other stuff. So she's got acting chops. She looks amazing, and obviously this is a great way to showcase fashion through the ages, from the 30s, 40s, the 60s, 80s, and she just looks stunning in everything. And then, of course, you have Harrison Ford. And the most amazing thing about Harrison Ford is that he has aged so gracefully.
Wonderfully, yes.
And I think for somebody who's ageless, this is my definition of ageless, where much like Mr. Bachchan, he's now getting roles where he's accepting them with grace, and the dignity with which he delivers is just superb.
Well, I have a feeling that you mentioned Mr. Bachchan and Harrison Ford in the same statement because he sports the same goatee that Mr. Bachchan does.
Precisely.
Well, sadly enough, Fahad, my oh my god moment from this film is actually a spoiler. So I'm going to try and tiptoe around what I can mention, what I cannot mention, purely because I would like the audience to watch this film. And if they already know this, it might just kill some of the fun. So here I'm dealing with a situation as an audience where there is, of course, this young woman who's remained young for 8 decades, whereas people she's fallen in love with, they've aged a lot. Now, for that person who's living a life which is closer to, of course, old age and almost death, as it were, he has a certain memory of that person which would be equal to the girl's memory as well, except this person looks absolutely young. I think that facet that this film deals with, where your body refuses to age, but your mind does, and nostalgia remains the same. I thought it was a very, very philosophical point, at least from the context of a picture like this.
Well, there is Mayank Shekhar, the eternal romantic, completely sort of getting philosophical and, carried away by what is otherwise a rather schmaltzy little film. Wonderful. But I must say, as far as my oh my god moment is concerned, is the very clever use of documentary footage intercutting with this. You see the Golden Gate bridge being built. This is the history of San Francisco. So it's nice to use those kind of timelines to also show the passage of time and how a city really is built. And there's some wonderful vignettes of things, underground sequences in San Francisco, things like that, which even for an audience, it's quite a revelation. So made by this indie filmmaker called Lee Toland Krieger, who made this film called Celeste and Jesse Forever. And it was a really fantastic film with Rashida Jones and Andy Samberg. And I thought he did such a great job of it. And this obviously is the big film now. So it's an interesting guy to watch out for.
Well, as I said right at the beginning of this discussion, Fahad, this is what they call the high concept film. Of course, we've seen, films deal with passage of time in various ways. There was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, where you're growing older, but from the reverse order. And there was Groundhog Day, where the same person repeats their day again and again. So this is, in that sense, a part of that genre. But if you're looking for a science fiction film or an idealistic romance, or as you mentioned, Fahad, quite a few times before, I am quite a sucker. I can be quite a sucker for such romances. It's a theatre dekho from my end.
Well, I'm not quite as sappy a sentimentalist as you are, Mayank, but I certainly enjoyed the film. I wouldn't go so far as to say theatre mein dekho. This is available possibly on DVD when it is, or on TV. Zarur dekho, because it's a fun, romantic fable. Nothing much, candy floss at one level, and that's all it is.
Well, that's Friday Double Bill, guys. Tell us what you think of the movies. Tell us what you think of the show. And yes, subscribe to our channel.